Joining us for the rest of the hour is Dave Rubin on YouTube, Rubin Report. And, of course, I just love the fact that he's already more popular on average, than the Young Turks, who've been around for years and had Google behind them and YouTube behind them. And I should add, we have been banned off Google ad roll now, that sub company. We're getting blocked on Twitter and Facebook. So the big age of censorship's here. So thank God we're on over 200 radio stations. And thank God we have our own website, Infowars.com. Because listen, folks, it's intensifying. And we've seen more censorship the last month ourselves than we saw the previous 5 years. So listen, it's accelerating. It's bad. And there may come a time very soon where you can't even hear us on the internet because they're kicking Breitbart off their apps. I mean, this is systematic, okay? So I want to talk to Dave Rubin. We haven't pre-planned this, just about the state of the world, where this is going, how he went from being a, quote, leftist, because I get it. There used to be some good on the left, to just saying these people are insane, and where is this going? Because it seems like in any cult, like Islam, it's got to get more and more radical, because the most radical then becomes whoever is in control. So it's like the left is like a sun imploding. It's like the gravity's a black hole, and the very worst now, the most mentally ill, are in charge. So, Dave Rubin, great to have you here with us today. Of course, great to see you on the Joe Rogan podcast as well.
Yeah, it's good to be with you, Alex. And by the way, I think you might be suffering from a little PTSD because of what happened at the RNC. You forgot to mention that one of their guys spit in your face and then ran away. So, this is the tolerance of the left. And before we even start here, I should say that, the amount of crap that I'm going to get for even talking to you, even though, as you just said, we planned none of this. I spoke to your guy for literally 10 seconds to check audio. Obviously, you're not going to control what I'm going to say. I'm not going to control what you're going to say.
Oh, the left always thinks we're colluding because they would make us have hours of meetings before they talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we don't. So we're going to do this. I have no idea what you're going to ask me. As you know, I'm a free speech absolutist. We can go anywhere. I'm happy to do that.
I want you to, you're a smart guy. I really want to hear wherever you want to go. I've got plenty of stuff to get into. All I'm saying is they're like raging authoritarians calling us fascist when I always really thought of myself as a classical liberal.
Well, look, classical liberal, that really is the new political term that people have to understand. That liberalism at its core is about live and let live. Now, that has nothing to do with the modern left that is about authoritarianism, that is about the collective, that wants to judge us all on these immutable characteristics of color and race and ethnicity and sexuality and gender and all of these things. They keep telling everyone else that they're the racists, they're the bigots, and yet they're constantly focused on those immutable traits. I view the individual as the most important thing. I only judge you, Alex Jones, on your thoughts and your actions. So if you say something that's smart and enlightened and that I agree with, that's fantastic. And if you say something that's nuts and crazy, then I would disagree with you. But I don't think that you, Alex Jones, represent white people or 43-year-old men or guys who live in Austin or any of that stuff. I think you represent you. That is the heart of liberalism. Now, that sounds a lot like modern-day libertarianism, and we can get into
it's Martin Luther King
thinking about that. Yeah.
I mean, it's simple. I go to a restaurant, whether white people, black people own it, if the food's good. I buy music, no matter what color they are, if I like it. I always thought that was what was liberal, is you were open to anything that you liked and enjoyed, and you were tolerant of others, not you will use our exact words, and you will do exactly as we say.
Of course, and now they've tricked you to think that if you're a white guy wearing dreadlocks, that you're somehow racist and you're culturally appropriating. And if you eat Chinese food, it's insane. But what you said earlier about the black hole, I think is an interesting analogy here, because it will never end. There is no end to this hole. This is what I've tweeted this a lot, that there's no bottom here. They're never going to get to a place where they go, okay, we got what we wanted, we got the control we wanted, and we have utopia. Because what they're telling you is that if only their guys were in power, if only Bernie was in power and Keith Ellison was in power and all of these far left guys, if only they were in power, magically society would be fantastic.
Well, exactly, but they're trying to bring an actual anti-language, anti-communication, anti-debate. The only place I see that is in the most hardcore cults make you follow only set language. It's always changing. They're always persecuting and, pulling somebody out to peck on them and surround them and bully them. I mean, everything they say they're against is what they are. And I'm asking you, because you've been inside with these people, what the hell's going on? Because they're some of the best comedy out there until you realize it's so dangerous and they've got our kids in schools.
Yeah, well, look, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So I don't think that on face value that all of these people are inherently bad people who are trying to, bring some authoritarian, communist, socialist control. I don't think they even realize what they're doing. I think most of the people, we can talk about some of the leaders and the higher ups and some of the people in media who you mentioned, but I think the average person that is into these ideas truly believes that minorities are oppressed in America, that women are oppressed in America, that Muslims are oppressed in America. We live in the freest, greatest society that there is. I would not want to live in any other country. I'm a married gay man. I don't want any extra credit for it. I wanted equal rights. Now I got it. And now I want to be able to vote the way anyone else.
And let me ask you this. Have you gotten a bunch of hate from right-wingers for that?
No. I mean, the truth is I haven't. The truth is I haven't. And that's a great point. And I'm glad you asked it, because all I've gotten, even every single day, I'd be glad to forward you emails later so that you know I'm not making this up. Every single day, I get emails from Christian conservatives in the middle of the country saying, you know what, Dave, you're liberal, you're gay, blah, blah, blah. I tend not to agree with you on this or that. You're not a believer. But I absolutely respect your opinions, the way you treat your show, the way you talk to your guests. I've sat across here in my studio is in my home. I have a home studio. I've sat across from people who've told me that they don't believe in gay marriage as they're in my home where I live. Bishop Barron, who's from the Archdiocese here in LA, we had an incredible discussion about it. And guess what? I didn't feel the need to get him to admit that he was for gay marriage. We had a great discussion about it.
And you didn't hit him over the head like they do at these Berkeley events where they're now pepper spraying, tasering people in Missouri. It's getting real. I'm really worried. Do you think that the violence is escalating? And if so, why?
Yeah, well, look, it can only get worse unless the true roots of liberalism come back. And look, I do believe that that's happening, but we have a ton of work to do. But look, if you've pinned all of your intellectual opponents as racists and bigots and Islamophobes and blah, blah, blah. If you've done that repeatedly, you keep pinning yourself into a box. And then eventually, what happens? The only way you can get out of that box is violence. So that's why when Richard Spencer, who I would probably disagree with on virtually everything, right?
He still has a right, though, as a white nationalist to go around, just like a Mexican nationalist has the right. In Metro La Raza, same group, just different skin color, same ideology, just a different perspective. They don't deserve to be beat up.
Absolutely, and that's the whole point of free speech. If free speech, everyone says, well, I'm for free speech, I'm for free speech. But then suddenly when someone says something that they don't like Richard Spencer, then it's okay to punch Nazis. That was
and then have MSM promote organized violence. That was what was very Nazi-like, was to have the news organizing violence against a group you don't like.
Right. So this concept is crazy. So, okay, so if you say, all right, Richard Spencer's a Nazi. Now, first off, I'm not even defending Richard Spencer. I'm defending his ability to speak. That's number one.
Because if he loses his, we lose ours.
Of course, and what the ultimate end game of this, what the next logical step is. So you have people saying they can't speak. Okay, now you move past.
Well, sure. Hold on a second. This is key. When I was growing up and in college, it was the right wing that wanted to curtail free speech a little bit, and I was against it and didn't like that. It was the left that would always defend it. They were the ones that would say, let the KKK march, and I'd go out and protest them. There's video. Since when did we get that the left, who was always the defenders of free speech, turn into that? And then get back to your other point.
Yeah, well, look, everything is changing. We're in a major horseshoe theory moment right now where the two sides are, the fringes are really becoming one crazy thing. So I would say that the left has gotten much worse just in the last 5 years alone. And it obviously has a lot to do with the way they treat Islam, which Islam as a doctrine, as a set of ideas, is a hugely regressive idea. Yet the progressives, somehow treat it at the top of their oppression Olympics as if it's the most virtuous thing. This is crazy. But getting back to the earlier point, the idea about punching Nazis. So if you say, okay, they can't speak. Well, now you say, all right, if they do speak, we're allowed to punch them. Well, what are you really saying? What you're really, when Richard Spencer got punched, he could have been killed, right? I mean, the guy could have hit him in a way that cracked his
hit his head on the concrete.
Yeah, could have been killed. And
I've seen people killed getting hit like that.
Exactly. So what you're saying then is, okay, actually you can kill people that you label Nazis. And then if you say that, well, are we allowed to blow up his house? What if his kid's there?
How about his family?
All of those things. And then you got to keep going with the logic. And this is what the left unfortunately doesn't do. Well, what's next? If I, Dave Rubin, a liberal, if I sit down with someone considered to be alt-right, who they'll now label a Nazi, now can you come after me? Am I okay as the subject of violence? And this is the problem. It is a slippery slope. And by the way, it's going to come for everybody. What they don't realize is that Bernie Sanders is a rich white man with 3 houses. He just got a new one on a lake. He has 3 houses. One day, Bernie Sanders will say something that goes against them, and he will be the enemy, because this is an ideology rooted in constant new oppression, and you have to find new enemies to attain power.
Let me raise this next question then. Obviously, race-based politics works. That's why it's gone on all over the world in history, or religion-based. So now the left, where the Democrats were just 60 years ago, they're going back to race-based politics, but with the minorities, and trying to basically invoke this. The Drudge Report has an article today with the Univision host on there, George Ramos, basically saying, hey, we're the new people, we're the majority, get used to it. But again, why are you identifying as Hispanic? I'll identify as an American, so you got property rights, religious rights, gun rights, and all this other stuff. I would want that birthright. See, I'm thinking about their brains, not what color they are. So then you expand from there. Why would the left, and I think this is their jump the shark moment, openly embrace Islam? You expose it, I expose it, others expose it. Horowitz first exposed it accurately. I didn't believe it 12 years ago when I read his book on Holy Alliance. It was so crazy that the left was going to be allied, but I guess his parents were communists. He knew. They come out and say, we are allied with it. We're spreading it. It's good. All women should wear the hijab. And they have TV ads in Europe, the U.S., saying, join the most radical forms of Islam, which is the most monotheistic, oppressive, male hierarchy thing on earth, Stone Age level. Beyond that crazy town crap, I have multiple daughters. I mean, it fundamentally pisses me off. And then they tell me I'm an effing white male that hates women, and at feminist marches, they're running around saying Allah Akbar, which is illegal in an Islamic country. So I'm just saying, this is total insanity. What's going on here?
Yeah, well, first to the Jorge Ramos point, it was interesting. I saw the clip, and he said it's not their country, it's ours. But that's exactly what he would say they're saying to him. So this is a very huge flaw in logic. There's a big jump that's missing.
Yeah, the whites are saying this is our country. He's saying, no, it's ours. Well, no, the whites really aren't saying that. They don't want brainwashed leftist Hispanics driving down wages, running around with the social justice warriors. Thank God, though, it's not mainly Hispanics. Why do you think mainly the people running around being the big bullies, or you may disagree, why is it mainly white people and white women?
Well, I think the coming after white people and coming after Christian people and anyone that has any sort of, traditional views on life or anything, it's just incredibly easy. And that goes back to what I said earlier about how I get all this mail now from Christian conservatives and conservatives of all sorts of religions and believers and not believers saying that I have traditional values. I disagree with you on all this stuff, but I like your ability to sit there and have a conversation because that's what liberalism is. Going after Christians is absurdly easy because guess what? They're not going to kill you. They're not going to kill you. And in most cases, actually, these days, they don't silence you either. And the proof of that is look what's going on the college campuses. Of course, I know you know this, but wherever Milo speaks, and now it's gone from Milo to Ben Shapiro to Charles Murray and plenty of other people. And I've been protested, which is completely absurd.
Why do they have no idea that what they're doing looks horrible?
I don't think they care. I don't think they care because if everyone that you disagree with,
echo chamber,
proven that they're a racist and a bigot and a Nazi and a homophobe, then you're morally right. And that also goes to what you said earlier about this site. It's become a religion. These are the people that are supposed to be anti-religion, right? They hate religion. Who do they hate the most? They hate Christian conservatives.
But they act like the most oppressive zealots I've ever seen.
Yeah, and look, and then when you toss Islam into this, and I know it's very important that we separate Islam, which is a set of ideas and a doctrine, versus Muslim people. There are millions and millions. And millions.
I'm not just, I had a lot of great friends in college and still do that are Muslim, but they were people that fled it. And, their moms and sisters aren't wearing hoods over their heads and can have a life. Exactly. I don't want like super poor, third world, orthodox, oppressive, women can't come out without hoods on their heads. That's not acceptable.
Well, not only is it not acceptable, but look, you can look at this woman, Linda Sarsour, who is now a hero of the left, who, if you look on her, she was arrested because yesterday at Trump Tower, I guess, for public disorder or whatever it is. But she's a hero of the left. Oh, there you go. You got it up right there.
She's the fourth from the left.
This woman has repeatedly defended Sharia law publicly on Twitter. And not only that, she's attacked Ayaan Hirsi Ali. There's a tweet. She's since deleted it. She's also blocked me on Twitter, of course, because I called her out on it. But she attacked Ayaan Hirsi Ali and said that something to the effect of, she shouldn't have a vagina. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with Ayaan Hirsi Ali. She's a Somali refugee who underwent female genital
It's
mutilation.
incredible.
Okay, not only did she that, then she was going to be married, I think at 14 years old, to her own cousin in Somalia. She fled Somalia, eventually makes it to Holland, where she's thrilled with freedom. She becomes a member of parliament, and what happens? Her friend Theo Van Gogh, Vincent Van Gogh's grandson, who's doing a documentary on Islam and free speech and some other stuff, is killed in the middle of the street in broad daylight. They pin a note saying, "Ayaan, we're coming for you next." She's now moved to the States here, and now is the perhaps one of the greatest people on earth, defending true feminism, defending true Western values and liberalism. And who's she hated by? She's hated by the left.
And let's expand on that, because women under Orthodox Islam or Stockholm Syndrome, they're allowed to go out and bully the women in Islam, and now I guess women in the West, into submitting to it. It's like a weird form of cuckolding or something. You know, people don't know what that is. I guess it's where you let like 10 guys have sex with your wife in front of you. There seems to be like this bizarre hatred of the West. So if we bring in the most radical forms of Islam and then hold it up and accept it and then let them, as I've been at the rallies in New York and D.C. and Austin, they're being led by radical Islamicists. And I'm like, is this really happening?
But the thing is, they don't know what's happening. What they think that they're doing, and this is why intentions matter. And it's important for us and for people that actually use logic and reason to look at these people and not say, okay, they're all inherently evil. What's happening is they think that Muslim people are being oppressed, whatever that means. Now, we have no laws against Muslim people. I have Muslim friends. I had Muslim friends over.
No, I got it. But there's a lot of Muslims that don't get in the melting pot. They want to make us submit.
Sure, absolutely. And that's why we have to fight ideology. Because if you think about the truth of it, is that in any place that Islam, the doctrine of Islam spreads, whether we're talking about in the Middle East or we're talking about in all these places in Europe that are having these huge problems right now, in Paris and in London and in Brussels.
No, wait, Trump's lying. The media said nothing's happening there. Stay right there. Dave Rubin's our guest on YouTube, Rubin Report. And we'll give you his website also when we come back as well. We're going to get into this and where he sees the real classical left versus this new weird cult left, where all this is going, and then to see the so-called right wing being so tolerant and open. I think the left's bizarreness was really a way to educate the right wing. I've been ranting. You've got the floor here, Dave Rubin, again, who defected, again, not from North Korea, but from the Young Turks helped mow down and kill the Armenians. Why do they have that name? He denies that happened. I mean, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, I mean, look, as far as the name of the show, I didn't even realize at the time when I started working there that there was this whole thing about the denial and that he had written this thing denying it. Subsequently, he's been challenged on it many times. I don't even, he's an irrelevant buffoon.
But the Turks did kill over 1 million Armenians.
Well, look, the group that formed in the Ottoman Empire that was trying to bring about revolution was known as the Young Turks. So the idea that the name of the show doesn't have anything to do with it is kind of
silly. Turkish.
By the way, for the people that criticize me, well, they say, Dave, you worked there. I did not. I swear to you, I was not aware of this until the summer after I had left already. Was the 100th anniversary of the Armenian genocide, and that's when all the news about this started bubbling up.
Yeah, most people don't know those little factoids unless you were Armenian, and this is undisputed edict by the Young Turks to murder the Armenians. So this is undisputed. Go ahead.
You can look. There's a quote from Hitler, which I'm going to slightly butcher, but he said, when people said, "Well, wait a minute, how are you going to get away with killing all the Jews in Europe?" He said, "Well, look what the Turks did to the Armenians."
Yes.
And they got it. So people can find that quote. That's real. But real quick, I want to back up for a second because you came in from commercial with the Steve Miller Band, and to prove that I don't go easy on the right, I was at a Steve Miller concert about a year ago in Orange County here outside LA, and it's pretty known as a conservative place. And I was busted at a Steve Miller outdoor concert for smoking weed by some angry, right-wing conservative. So I want to be clear on this. I am for liberty. I can smoke some weed.
No, absolutely. I'm not. Absolutely. I'm for decriminalization as well. There's a lot of hypocrites on the right. They're just not as viral. So getting back to I don't want to talk about the Young Turks all day. It's just the arrogance and just from what I've seen, I'm not just saying this. It seems like, maybe I'm wrong, even their own fans are turning against them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I see a ton of that, but that's because the left is not liberal anymore. And once you realize that, once that little piece gets pulled out, the deck of cards starts crumbling real quick. And you realize, wait a minute, why is this always about more and more control? Progressives constantly scream about government, right? Government is wrong now, and Trump is evil, and Obama was evil when he was in charge, and George Bush, of course, was evil, and all that. But what's the answer? It's always more government. This makes no sense. It's only if their magical people could just be in charge, then everything would be okay. It's a fake utopia that doesn't exist. And
yeah, Venezuela and North Korea and communist Russia, all these places are hellholes. Authoritarianism, big government always brings hell on earth, and a little fat guy waddling around with generals.
Yeah, look, there's plenty of things if you want to go into it. We can discuss plenty of things that that we like or dislike about Trump and have a healthy debate on that. But right now, is Trump coming for someone's freedom? Are you the threat to free speech right now? Does that seem like it's coming from Trump, or is it coming from the left? Now, we can talk about what Trump's doing with some of the media stuff, but the simple fact is the media has been horrible. The idea that for the last 8 years they had this White House Correspondents' Dinner, which now Trump's not going to do, that showed you they were throwing it in our face how corrupt they were.
Oh, the Washington Post and everybody says we've entered a great time of darkness and evil and attack on the press. Trump's just said he's going to bypass the press mainstream because they're a bunch of liars. That's not censoring them. They've posted articles and op-eds in every major newspaper I've seen saying kill Trump, have riots, overthrow things, beat people up. They've got the faculty at these universities is in the news bailing out the people that attack men, women, and children. So the claim that he's at war with speech when the left is the one trying to control speech and beating people up is just crazy.
Well, by the way, if he was first censoring the media, he would be trying to shut down news organizations. Now, I would be for a huge opening of the White House press corps. So I would let in a lot of new organizations, which, by the way, he has let in some. You know, some people were saying, well, he's censoring the New York Times and CNN and a few others. He didn't let them into the gaggle, which is an off-the-record thing that they do after. You're not automatically entitled to that. Now, all that being said, does he have an authoritarian streak? Absolutely. Do I like all of the executive orders? No, and I didn't like them under Obama, and I didn't like them under George W. Bush. I think we should actually be governed by the Constitution, which means that the legislative branch, Congress, should write laws.
Sure, but they keep advocating their responsibility, so Absolutely. At least Trump's using the executive power to transfer power like TPP, killed that back to the people.
So, Alex, that right there, that's a great meaty place to have a conversation, that Congress is abdicating their power. Where are the laws that have they tried to pass any law since Trump has become president?
No, finally they're trying to do this repeal, but it's not even a repeal. It's another screw job the Republicans cooked up.
Yeah, look, and of course, we should all be for single payer. That's the most sensible thing, that there is it's a combination of public and private. Now, I get it. If you're a pure libertarian in the purest sense, you want the government to have nothing to do with it. But in a functioning state that we have, that a single payer makes the most sense, where we have private insurers and it's just sort of facilitated by the government. I personally think that's okay, but I'm happy to argue with people on whether that's okay. But the point is, the meaty part of this is what you hit on a second ago, which is we have three branches of government. One's supposed to write laws, one's supposed to sign them into law, and one's supposed to confirm whether they're legal or not. And what we're doing, and what the presidents have done now for a long time, is funnel all of that power to the executive. So for those
now the left is freaking out because the executive was their god when it was a Democrat or a Republican they controlled. Now they're totally freaked out because they've transferred all the power to the executive, and now they're completely freaked out by Trump.
Exactly. So then what's the answer to that? The answer isn't, oh, it's only okay when it's your guy. So
no, transfer power back to the states, back to the Congress, and back to the people. But Trump's actually trying to get them to do a health care bill. They don't even want to do Congress is the worst group. I mean, there's no doubt that they literally just want to pass authority on and just be lazy.
Yes, you're 100% right. That's the answer. The answer is return to what our founders wanted, which was limited federal control. If you don't like Trump, and there are many reasons not to like him, if you don't like him, the answer isn't to try to upend democracy, to try this hashtag resistance, and to literally try to impeach. What are you saying? You want to impeach him, and then we'll impeach Pence, and then we're going to install Hillary or a Democrat? I mean, what are you actually—
By the way, they even talk about disconnect, Dave Rubin, the Alex Jones Show, folks, if you just tuned in. Again, Dave Rubin of the Dave Rubin Report on YouTube, a hit show, formerly with the Young Turks, the Young Turds as I call them. Where does this go from that point? Because they're trying to say the state's God. Now, exactly, they want to remove Trump, but then they actually say, Michael Moore said, we want to install Hillary back in who's like a walking dead zombie, incredibly corrupt. Nobody wants the Bushes. Nobody wants the Clintons. What's the elite thinking? If they'd have run some half-decent person, they would have beaten Trump. Again, they're so entitled, not just the grassroots of the left, but the elite of it are just crazy.
Well, think about what Michael Moore said. I mean, really, you have to take everything as before we said there's no bottom with the left. Well, every time that anyone gives you a fact, you have to take it to where the—
He used the word install.
Right. Okay. So let's just say we impeach Trump, we get rid of Pence, the whole administration goes down. Somehow, I don't think there's any legal way we could do it, but somehow we install Hillary as president, or just any Democrat. We grab Biden's old bones. He's now president. Well, what's the next step? The next step is you would basically be saying we now have to go to war with Russia because they installed a puppet president in the United States. So if that happens, guaranteed, we go to war with Russia. I can tell you right now, I don't want to go to war with Russia. I see no reason to go to war with Russia.
I was about to say, if Russia was expanding, threatening us, Russia can barely stabilize itself. Clearly, China and Islam, radical Islam, are the existential threats.
Yeah, well, look, 4 years ago, what happened? It was about 5 years ago now in that debate when Barack Obama said to Mitt Romney after he said that Russia's our biggest geopolitical foe, Obama said, I want my, you want the 80s foreign policy back. Now, obviously, there is some stuff going on with Russia, and we have to treat that. We have to be transparent about it and figure out what's going on here, really. But the bigger point is that if you give these protesters, if you give them what they want, it really is dismantling of democracy. So I
agree. So let me ask you this. They believe their bullying and intimidation is going to work. I don't see that happening. The Democrats, 5 years ago, they would have delivered, probably put the Republicans out of business except for a regional group in the South. I think they were right. Now they're the party that lost almost all the state houses, the governorships, the House, the Senate. And it's a total collapse, as Steve Bannon has said. If they deliver on prosperity and kind of a populist conservatism, but are also inclusive, which Trump's doing, his whole family, a lot of them are liberals, but real liberals, it's going to break the back of the collectivists. So where do they go? I mean, let me ask Dave Rubin, a smart guy that's joining us right now. What are the different paths? Kind of like choose your own adventure novels, working in like 3 ways. What are the different avenues we're going down here?
Well, first off, just to your point about Trump's family, I had Donald Trump Jr. on my radio show a couple of years ago, way before Trump was running for president. I was on the OutQ channel, the LGBT channel on Sirius XM, because that's where they threw me as a gay person, even though I wanted to do politics, but that's fine.
The left does that, where we're like, they pigeonhole you and say who you are, because exactly.
Yeah, so I had Donald Trump Jr. on. His dad, this is way before his dad's running for president. And we asked him about gay marriage, and he said at the time, that Donald Trump Jr., was 100% for it. He said, I know my dad is not for it. This is a couple of years ago. He said, my dad is not for it, but my dad has always taught us to say what we think and believe what we believe. And I thought that's a pretty good mark of a person. And by the way, I've been trying to explain to my friends on the left for quite some time now that the idea that Trump is anti-gay is insane. Not only is he a lifetime New Yorker who obviously was surrounded by plenty of gay people, he got a standing ovation at the RNC at the acceptance speech when he mentioned gay rights. He had Peter Thiel as one of his good buddies and closest confidants right now, who's openly gay, obviously. And Peter Thiel was at the RNC, said, I'm a proud gay man, got a standing ovation for it. And what did Trump do? He also, kept the LGBT workplace.
Well, exactly. And some right-wingers, people say, this is horrible, don't do this. The point is, the left has groups they think they own, creating all the hate and making us all hate each other when there's no reason to do that. And it's a cult. So Trump is unifying the country. That's what we need.
So, Alex, this is a great point also, because I know that just by appearing here with you, I am going to get a pretty decent level of hate. People are going to say, oh, you're with Alex Jones, and they'll send me videos of you screaming, and they're going to say, hey,
out of context stuff.
Right. So be that as it may, they're just going to, a certain amount of people they're not going to listen to anything we said. They're not going to counter any of the ideas. They're just going to throw hate. And that is for those of us that actually, whether we agree or disagree politically, but for those of us who want a better country based in our own ability to build a better society.
We need to start talking to each other.
Yeah, we got to start talking to each other.
Exactly. That's what the colleges used to be, was an open discussion. Now they're the most uninclusive place. How did we come here? Final segment with our guest, then John Rappaport coming up. I'm Alex Jones. Dave Rubin, where do you see this world going? Closing comments.
Yeah. Well, first off, I checked my Twitter during the break there. People are telling me I got to ask you about these gay frogs. Is there anything I need to know real quick?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, they take clips out where I covered a BBC article where they said they would drop gay bomb pheromones on the Iraqis. And then I said, I didn't say it was really gay frogs. I said there's these estrogen mimickers that are causing asexuality, all sorts of confusion in species across the board. I know there's always been gay people forever. And I said that in a larger rant. And then they attacked me about gay frogs. And then I yelled about the gay frogs. I mean, look, 2 weeks ago, they had Colbert cut a clip saying, I'm anti-gay. No, I said in the clip, I'm not anti-gay. It's not like I'm hiding what I say on here. They're so deceptive now, Dave, that it's just reached a new level.
That's a great point also, because what's happening now is there's a gajillion people watching this, and a certain amount just hate, right? They just hate. So all they want to do is wait for the moment they can selectively edit something I say, selectively edit something you say, take a question from you and put in a different response from me. And then they get that, they spread that around, you know, people retweet it, they go, look how crazy these people are. And then we have to spend time cleaning up the mess. And that's mentally exhausting.
But the good news is people that do that get discredited, and then people know where. It's like Fox News played a clip where I said Hillary was killing kids in a basement. I said Hillary killed kids by funding radical Islam that sold girls into sex slavery. The clip clearly says it at the front and the back, but they took it out of context and said, I said it was happening in a pizza place.
But Alex, this is why conversation, this is why exactly doing what we're doing right now is the most important thing there is, because most people want to live their life. They don't care how you live their life as long as they live you live your life, they live their life. It really is as simple as that. And when we can get to that, you find it very easy. Even right now on my show over the last couple of weeks, and I hope you'll come on in when next time you're in LA.
Sure.
But, you know, I found it now easy to build bridges with guys that 5 years ago I would have said I could never sit down with. You know, guys firmly conservative.
Isn't that the internet, though? I think that's why terms left and right are becoming obsolete.
Yeah.
We're all finding out how much we're like each other.
Yes, and how beautiful is that? And that's why silencing the people on the internet is the scariest thing. So you've talked a little bit before about, you know, some of the things that are happening right now. I did an interview about 3 weeks ago with Fleming Rose. He was the editor of the Danish newspaper that printed the Muhammad cartoons,
yes.
10 years or so. This guy is a free speech absolutist. He doesn't have an iota of hate in his body. I spoke with him at UCLA that same evening at a perfectly peaceful event, which was great. YouTube demonetized our videos on that. We didn't, there was no hate. There was no racism.
Dave, we're out of time, but come back soon. When you come to Austin in April, please come see us. I'm going to come back in the fourth hour. Great point. Yeah, free speech is under attack, folks, so support it. They think they can bully us. They think they can win. They're not going to win. We'll be back with the fourth hour. Thank you, Dave. All right, I'm Alex Jones. Infowars.com. Spread that link. They're trying to censor it.